This business school will play a pivotal role in shaping future professionals and in most cases, future companies and managers of institutions. One of the main aims of this initiative is to develop international competitive graduates by equipping them with the finest education in order for them to have the very sophisticated managerial skills for our current era. But most importantly, this benchmark initiative is set to contribute to the revival and discovery of the Islamic knowledge in management field. To this end, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot go on without thanking the COMCEC for allowing us to collaborate with them in launching this project. And on that note, to give the opening remarks, we are thrilled to welcome His Excellency Taha Ayhan, President of the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, to please deliver his welcoming remarks. Mr. President, the stage is all yours.
Teşekkür ederim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Selamünaleyküm. Dear Excellency Ahmet Bey, the Assistant Secretary General of the OIC, His Excellency Fatih Ünlü Bey, Director General of the COMCEC, and His Excellency Arda Ermut Bey, the guest of honor of today, and also the CEO of the Turkish Wealth Fund. First of all, welcome to our event today. It's a great honor and pleasure for me to address you to this August House. Thank you very much for coming here and participating in our event. I don't want to make a long speech, but I want to make some remarks about the past of Arda Ermut Bey, the guest of honor today, because his participation of this event is an important milestone and also starting step for our joint event for Istanbul Business School, which we are currently and jointly organizing with the COMCEC. We are planning to organize this Istanbul Business School to train some young minds as the new executives of our entrepreneurships, our entrepreneurs, our businesses, our companies among the Ummah and among our youth. And so we want to have a good and fresh start. So we are now hosting Arda Ermut Bey, who has an immense experience on entrepreneurial area and also who has served many years in the Turkish as a chairman of the Turkish Investment Fund. And now he's chairing and presiding the Turkish Wealth Fund under the President Erdogan administration. And he is now as the CEO for many Turkish public entities. So I guess his remarks on young minds for entrepreneurial skills, business, companies is very important for us. And again, thank you very much for coming here. And I'm really excited to hear his words. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for your speech. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Dr. Ahmed Kawesa, Assistant Secretary General of the OIC in charge of Economic Affairs, to please share some few words with us. Your Excellency, the stage is all yours.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Director General of COMCEC, distinguished brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is a very good surprise for me to be participating in this extremely useful event. Within the OIC family, the youth, 25 and below, are about 60%. So the OIC is really a young population. In some countries, it's up to 70% of our population being below age 25. Simply put, the future of the Ummah will depend on how well we prepare the youth for the future. Our future is in your hands, the youth. We can't be talking about a good future, a future where the Muslim Ummah is able to fend for itself, is able to direct its affairs, is able to play an active role on the world stage, is able to give humanity a sense of direction without really talking about how we should prepare the youth for that future. As somebody said, the future has already arrived, only that it is not evenly distributed. And what we need is to empower our youth with knowledge, skills, and values, the three of them. Knowledge, how to do business, knowledge in whatever endeavors they want to pursue, engineering, science, technology, artificial intelligence, medicine, human affairs, in whatever disciplines they want to pursue, but also the skills, the know-how, how to do things, not to talk about things, but how to do things, produce results. If you are studying agriculture and you're a professor of agriculture who has never grown even a tomato, and for everything about food you have to go to the market, then there's a serious problem with that kind of agriculture professor. An electrical engineer who cannot wire his house, there is a problem. So yes, we need knowledge because we are living in a knowledge-driven society, running knowledge economies, but more importantly, we need the skills. The third survival technique that you need as youth are human values. The world does not have a shortage of graduates or technocrats, but we have a shortage of people who are honest, accountable, can relate with others in a normal, good way. We always have about 3 intelligences in our brains, okay? IQ or intelligent quotient, that's what you need to get the knowledge, to study your chemistry, to study your business, to do your accounting, whatever it is that you are pursuing, you use intelligent quotient. Your IQ will in many ways determine your capacities. But there's also another 2 types of intelligence. One is emotional intelligence. How well, are you stable? You go to many countries, you find they have a high standard of living, good economies, but also the suicide rate is very high. And then you ask, what happened? These people seem to have everything material, but they're still committing suicide. As we speak now, basically, in USA, a person is murdered every minute. By the time I stop speaking, many people have been murdered or robbed, and so on and so forth. And you see this in many developed countries. Then you ask the question, what is actually missing? The mental stability, mental peace, mental discipline. And in the era of science and technology, internet, everything is there. Uncle Google, every good is there, and every evil is also there. So how do you differentiate what is useful for you and concentrate on that and leave out the garbage? Then you need emotional intelligence. The last intelligence is the social quotient. How do you relate with other people? How do you relate? Who are your friends? The English people say, tell me who your friends are, and I will tell you who you are. Okay? So how do we make friendship that is meaningful? But if we use the Islamic paradigm of the world view, you shouldn't have a problem. We want you to become the true generation, the Quran and generation, the people who derive their world view, their behaviors from the Quran and Sunnah. Then you should have no problems living in a challenging world. Because in the Quran and Sunnah, you have everything explained for you, how to live a good life. So as you study, also study Islam, the proper message of Islam, which is peace, development, loving your neighbor, even if he's not a Muslim. You are expected to treat your neighbor very well. Once we have the Islamic values, which are essentially human values, then you should be able to live a better way, and our future as the Ummah will be more assured. So I wish you the very best, and we look forward to your success as the youth, because your success is the success of the Ummah. We support the activities of starting a business school to be able to empower our youth with the knowledge and skills that they need to live in a challenging world. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And yes, indeed, there is a burgeoning rate of youth in our Ummah, and we have to have that mental discipline to tackle the issues of the 21st century. Moving right along, ladies and gentlemen, we would like now to give the floor to Mr. Fatih Unlu, Director General of the Standing Committee for Economic and Commercial Cooperation of the OIC. Mr. Director General, the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished participants, I would like to salute you all with the best of salutes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We would like to welcome you all to this special event on a new leadership in the digital age. We have an eminent, in fact, colleague among us who will present his gist of his life. He's, mashallah, very dynamic, as apparent from his, in fact, title. Inshallah, we will learn a lot from him. First of all, I would like to thank His Excellency Taha for his intense efforts for the development of youth in the Islamic world, as well as for organizing this very special event. And also, I would like to thank His Excellency Salim Arda Ermut for sparing his precious time for this special event, and also His Excellency Ahmet Sengendo for being with us. Although it was a short notice, he honored our event. And of course, most importantly, I would like to salute our young people who will be, as His Excellency said, the future of the Islamic Ummah. As you all know, there is a problem of good governance, good management in the world, as evident from the current crisis, economic crisis, social crisis, political crisis, humanitarian crisis. Really, the world cannot govern itself efficiently. And unfortunately, Islamic countries is not an exception. Of course, we know that there are so many plans and plots against Islamic countries, but that's not an excuse. We have to make our own nature very strong so that we can resist to all these issues. That was why we have initiated this Istanbul Business School initiative, because we know that there are top of art business schools around the world, but they don't give you, they give you excellent education, but they don't give you the ethical perspective highlighted by His Excellency Sengendo that is most required, in fact. But what we are, in fact, targeting is to have excellent education along with the accumulation of Islamic knowledge in leadership, Islamic knowledge in governance, Islamic knowledge in managing the issues, because we know we have a magnificent past with the grandeur of grand civilization of the world. And all alone, it is based on simple principles, because we give a lot of importance to human beings. We accept them as Ashrafil Mahluk. They are the most honored of all creatures. And also, we say that whoever serves the people will be serving Hak Ta'ala, I mean Hak, because this is as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept, as if we served Him, if we can serve His creatures. That is an excellent principle which we all need, especially nowadays. That was why we initiated this, and of course, with the brother Taha. Of course, the idea goes back to another COMCEC research which we have conducted for enriching our agenda. The idea came from there about 12 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. We have conducted, and then we have got this very crucial idea from there. And inshallah, we will be able to give, along with excellent education and management and administration, with Islamic finance, Islamic principles, leadership of all prophets, alayhi salatu wasalam, including our prophet, Hazrat Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, then inshallah it will make our young people more equipped towards the challenges of the present world. Just I will conclude with one simple, let's say, memory from Erbakan Hoca, Necmettin Erbakan, late Prime Minister of Turkey. He served a lot to Turkey and also to the Islamic cause in Turkey. In fact, he was asked, he was an excellent engineer. In fact, he was asked, why you didn't continue with engineering? Because you could be one of the best engineers, you could take a lot of hours, etc. He said, okay, that will be a good way of serving people, but unfortunately, we have a problem of governance. We have a problem of administration. If you cannot solve it, whatever you do, its effect will be minor. We have to solve these management issues, governance issues first, and whatever you do, it will be, inshallah, very fruitful. With these words, I salute you once more. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director General, for your insightful speech. Ladies and gentlemen, for this historical event in this beautiful hall, we shall have an exciting session entitled COMCEC Youth Dialogue, a new leadership in the digital age. Distinguished audience, as we are all aware, the world is rapidly changing and we are gradually consumed by data every single minute. This very data regulates our daily routines to an extent of making some of us feel disconnected with life the moment we aren't even in possession of these devices. In other words, the very data we created has enslaved us unknowingly, and many of us have lost our free will to it. We find ourselves unwitting and unwilling captors of algorithms that invasively track our every click. The question today is, how do we bring a new wave of leadership in an era that is very manipulative? How can we access to reliable information, which is vital for defending against polarization, mistrust, and misinformation, which are endangering the democratic governance we have? Today, we shall have a robust conversation exploring multi-stakeholder pathways of finding means of using digital technologies to help young people lead in this era. The upcoming lecture shall be conducted under the auspices of a very distinguished speaker. His reputation precedes him. So before I hand over the stage to our guest speaker, allow me to say some few things about him. Our illustrious speaker graduated from Boğaziçi University in Political Science and International Relations. He became press and public relations consultant to the Prime Minister's office in 2005. And he occupied several positions, and he was also a board member for Turkish Airlines and vice president of the Turkish Basketball Federation. He is currently the chief executive officer of the Turkey Wealth Fund. The list goes on. I think I will leave it to the distinguished sir to speak more about himself. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Salim Arda Ermut. Please.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I heard somebody's telling something to me, but nothing, I think. Okay. His Excellency, President, my dear friend, Mr. Tayhan, His Excellency, Secretary General, His Excellency, Director. First of all, and dear guests, or ladies and gentlemen, the distinguished guests from all over the world. First of all, I want to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to address such a distinguished audience. Actually, this is a cliche opening maybe, but I'm saying this by heart because of two reasons mainly. First of all, for more than two and a half years, we didn't have too much opportunity to address anybody, frankly speaking. So finding people to speak, seeing new faces, trying to communicate with somebody whom you never seen before. And at the same time, this was something started to be a blessing really for the last couple of years. So seeing all these people in a venue in Istanbul is really something we missed for years. I hope you get the best meetings and lectures here you got the best results out of this organization, inshallah. But this is also an interesting experience for me, as it is for you, hopefully. And the second reason is, as you can imagine, because of our duty, because of our position, the types of meetings we usually had, the issues that we discussed are usually about a single, about a limited, the range of issues, mainly about finance, business, and you sometimes get really bored of that. It makes you sometimes forget the essentials, actually. And I'm very happy to hear, especially from His Excellency Secretary General and also Mr. Ünlü, that the purpose of this meeting here in Istanbul today is something else, to trying to make the participants have a vision in a more important cause, inshallah. And this is something we usually do not have the opportunity to, engage in. So this is why also it's a very interesting experience, and it's an honor for me to be present in such a meeting. But I must confess that I've never had considered myself as somebody who can speak about or you can lecture anybody about big concepts like leadership or success. And I'm not that type of guy. Out of my speech, you will understand this too, hopefully. I am more like the type of personality, maybe for the ones who watches or follows football, a type of gentleman who kicks the ball away as it comes, not like a Zidane or Messi type of player. All these algorithms are, in his hand when the ball is coming, had his plans, the plan A, plan B, plan C, seeing the pitch from 3 meters above. Maybe I never have considered myself that type of personality. But I'm sure the smart people in this venue will be drawing their own lessons, their own, the outcomes out of the speech that the lecturers are will be doing, or out of the experiences, the real life experiences of the participants here. That's my also goal today. I will be talking about maybe a little bit myself, what I am doing at the moment, and also thanks to you also I had the opportunity to have a look on the issues in the leadership in the digital age, and then digitalization. Thanks to you also I had my opportunity to how can I say, review my the knowledge, or look at the most updated developments on the issue. So maybe I can also share these with you, and I can also learn something from you, maybe if we have enough time for question and answers. Let me talk about, first of all, what I'm doing at the moment. I am the CEO and also a board member for the Turkey Wealth Fund. For the ones who know the wealth funds in general, it is usually the model for the countries which are giving actually cash surplus, and trying to find the best models to make use of this surplus for their countries. But for Turkey's case, it is more like it's more similar to the models that exist in the countries like Singapore or Malaysia. They have their also wealth funds like COMCEC or Kazana, which the countries which they gathered the public assets, public companies under a portfolio to make better value out of them, to use the synergy among them, and to manage them as a whole group to get the best results for the public outcomes. So what Turkey wants to do with his also public companies in different sectors, to also make the best value addition out of these countries with a better management, frankly speaking, with a private sector mentality, gathering them under an umbrella, and trying to make the best outcomes by each of these companies, particular companies, out of also the synergy and the coordination among them. So this Turkey Wealth Fund is also established a couple of years ago. When compared to the other counterparts, it's a new institution. But what we are trying to do is to also, as I mentioned, to make the best outcome out of these companies for the public goods, for the public goals. So we can consider this institution as the investment arm of the government, investment arm of the Turkish state. The chairman of the board is His Excellency President Erdogan, and the representation in the board is also quite wide, frankly speaking. There is the head of the banking union in Turkey and the head of a public bank, the biggest public bank, Ziraat Bank. There is also the chairman of the board of Istanbul Stock Exchange. There is the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce of Turkey. There is an independent private businessman. There is also a gentleman who is my successor, the chairman of the Investment Office of Turkey, and myself. So the board, as you can also understand from the personalities, the foreign direct investment is also an important pillar for this investment, for this fund. And under our portfolio, there are more than 20 companies in more than 8 sectors, including the shares of public authority, the shares of the government in Turkish Airlines, the telecommunication companies like Turkcell, Turkish Telecom, the public banks, Ziraat Bank, Vakıf Bank, Halkbank, and also companies in different financial sectors like Türkiye Sigorta, the insurance company, some ports, some assets in real estate in different parts of Turkey. So we have, as I said before, more than 20 companies in more than 8 sectors in Turkey, but especially some of them are, I think, more related to our topic here we will be talking about today. And as also it's kindly mentioned by the speakers, former speakers, my career before has been mainly in the Investment Office of Turkey. It was first established as the Prime Minister Investment Support and Promotion Agency of Turkey, which was a very visionary and a new institution to the bureaucracy at that time. By the way, I will be underlining this bureaucracy issue time to time. I think it's an important issue that we have to talk about. But the aim was to provide a one-stop shop service for the investors in Turkey, in which through which they can address only one single address on the government side to make everything easier for them from A to Z, including the licensing or permitting processes, the finding, site selection, delving through the bureaucracy. For all of these issues, His Excellency President Erdogan, when he was the Prime Minister of Turkey in 2007, I'm sorry, established this institution to provide a one-stop shop service for the investors. And by the way, foreign direct investments are a critical issue for Turkey, I must mention, because if you had the opportunity to follow the Turkish economy, you can see that especially after 2002, together with the political stability, the trends started to go like that in a positive way. I mean, the exports, the economic growth, all the indicators were going in a better way, but 2 acute problems of Turkey remained. One of them is the current account deficit. We import more than we export, and the main reason for that is the dependency on foreign sources in the energy. If you take energy out of the equation, we are giving surplus, but because of especially the energy imports, we are still giving, the deficit. And the second reason, and the second problem the Turkish economy has, the low amount of savings. This is a dynamic country with a population of 80 million, average age is around 31. So the dynamics are fast, the growth dynamics are, in a positive trend. So it's a fastly growing economy. The need for growth is also huge and very urgent. But the need for investment, the savings that's needed for investments, for these growth dynamics are not enough in Turkey. So we need foreign direct investments for mainly these 2 important reasons. This is why this decision has taken, many reforms has been done, especially in the years between 2002 to 2010. And thanks to that, the total volume of FDI jumped to especially we must consider the years before 2002, I think, to understand better. The total amount of FDI, foreign direct investments, came to Turkey until 2002 was only $15 billion. But after 2002 to this day, in the last 20 years, the total amount of FDI came to Turkey is more than 230 billion US dollars. So there's a huge change. Of course, the potential we believe is much higher, but even the right touches, you know, even on a limited scale, the right touches and some changes in the, you know, the bureaucracy, in the, you know, the reformation process in different parts of the economy, and the establishment of institutions like ours, like the investment office, helped investors to realize the real potential of Turkey, maybe, if it is the right definition. So thanks to that, we started to have more and more foreign direct investments. But as I said before, still we believe that this is the very limited portion of the potential of Turkey, because we always believe that the fundamentals of Turkey are critical. The location, the population dynamics, the conjuncture, the economic conjuncture on a global scale. I think these are all favorable for Turkey. As Taha Bey said, I have served as a board member for Turkish Airlines for a couple of years, and I think Turkish Airlines is an interesting example for the potential of Turkey. Thanks to its location, thanks to its potentials, and thanks to its integration with the surrounding economies and the countries, the Turkish Airlines became the airline company in the world which flies the most destinations, which flies the most countries. Especially post-pandemic period, it became one of the fastest recovering airline companies in the world. And of course, the good management or the professional approach, these are important. But the most important asset we believe that Turkish Airlines is the location of Istanbul and Turkey in general. Because in the most simple way, thanks to Turkey's and Istanbul location, Turkish Airlines can fly many destinations with narrow-body small planes. And this gives you a huge importance, for example, in fleet management and the financing of this fleet. So, for example, this is in a very simple way shows how location can be important for a company, but in a more general outlook, how location or the geostrategic actually position can be important for a country. So we believe this potential is much higher, and inshallah, Turkey will be having more and more foreign direct investments. If you had the opportunity to follow yesterday's news, there was also an interesting and important meeting, an official meeting from United Arab Emirates to Turkey. So it was all about, again, investments actually. So especially after the post-pandemic period, I think these kind of meetings and bilateral relationships between different countries will be more and more critical. Many things will be changing, and I hope they will be changing in a more positive way, but we will be seeing very fast changes actually, just as we expect from the age of digitalization actually. So actually you are the generation who can understand these developments and the phase of this change, the speed of this change more than anybody, especially when compared to the former generations. I think you will be in a better position. You will be in a more advantageous position to grasp this new reality and understand the new trends. This is why it will be the age of yours. It will be the age of your successful time, inshallah. And when trying to be successful in the areas that you are going through, I mean, either the business line you choose, the career path that you will be going for, or for the other aims of life that you are trying to reach, keeping a different vision, some important values ahead will be very critical in this new age. For myself, I left my family when I was 11 for a dormitory school, for a boarding school, because education is also an important issue in Turkey. You know, the more than 24 million people, students are at schools on a daytime. So this shows the young population also of Turkey, but also it shows both the potential and an importance of education system in Turkey too. Because if you are following the newspaper, especially for our guests who are having their education in Istanbul, I'm sure they are every day seeing from the news and the developments that the education system in Turkey is continuously evolving, but unfortunately, it's always been the most criticized, the part of maybe the whole government work, because there are huge expectations from the changes, everybody's family is affected. All the families, parents are investing heavily on the education of their children. In my time, when I was entering the university education examination, the number of participants in this examination was close to 2 million, if I'm not wrong. Maybe now today it's more, and you are trying to be successful among all these people, and it pushes to the students, the young people, too much, and increases the pressure psychologically over them and also over the families. So this also increases the expectations from the decision makers about the policies of the education. So at that time, the best schools of Turkey were located in the big cities of Turkey: Istanbul, Ankara, Izmir, mainly in Istanbul, as you can imagine. And I'm from a city called Karaman, which is at the heart of Anatolia. So after the primary school, there was an examination at that time again. We started our examination life, as you see, very early. I was 11 when I was first entered these examinations. And for the secondary school, we entered these examinations, and I was qualified for a school in Istanbul, and I came here. And after that, I had never the opportunity to go back to my country or my family, as you can imagine. After the secondary school, the university was again in Istanbul. Then my first position in the Prime Ministry of Istanbul, Prime Ministry, was also in Istanbul, because it was the first time that the Prime Minister, it was also part of the vision of His Excellency Mr. Erdogan. From before him, there wasn't an official representation of Prime Minister of Turkey in Istanbul. Can you imagine? But it was like that. They were making their meetings in hotels or something like that. There was not a Prime Minister building in Istanbul. It was interesting. So when I was graduated from the university, they were just about to open this new office in Dolmabahce Palace. Actually, it's not Dolmabahce Palace, but it is the place where it's called the Circle of Musahiban. Actually, it is built for the people who are visiting the Sultan at that time, but not for the VIPs, but for the accompanying people. They established another small building at that time, and now they are using that. They were using that building for Prime Ministry, and I started to work for that institution actually at that time. So my career started first of all with deciding to be apart from the family, and I'm still thinking whether it is the right decision or not, because spending all these years away from your family, then especially after some traumatic events, for example, my mother passed away last year, and after all this time, all I can think about is whether it really worth spending all my time away from my family or not. Really, this question haunts you again and again. After having all these, the career things and maybe some achievements, at the end you make your equation in your head, and you still try to decide whether it really worth or not. And this is why actually maybe I'm trying to come to also the issue. But when I'm looking at my notes, what is about digitalization, what is the leadership in this new age, I think it will be the age where the real fact that everything is about human, actually everything is about human values, will be understood better and better. It is all about human. What you are doing, what you will be achieving, what you want to do in the life, at the end will come to a very simple, the calculation in your head, whether it really works or not. At the end, whether it really make you, if you are not a true believer or a Muslim, maybe whether you really served your personal happiness or not, this will be the real question. But for us, I think we must also, considering the aim of this group, this meeting, we must be thinking whether it really serves the cause that we actually work for, especially for not this world, but also for the afterworld, for Akhirat. And at the end, whether it really served or not, the real cause that we have to follow, I think it will be the real question. And among all this, the different expectations from from this world, from our family, from our business, from the environment that we live in, we have to choose always the right, path, considering actually the real cost that we have to care about. I think in the age of digitalization, everybody will be thinking about more and more about these, the questions more than ever. When I look at, of course, the concepts like digital age, digitalization, these are the concepts we have been increasingly hearing over the last years, and lots of cliches, lots of talks are being made about that. I'm sure you are maybe tired of that. But what is if we look at the main difference, what is the real, the essence about all is that, as I said before, none of the developments into digital era would have been possible had they not had humans and our needs at the core. This is, I think, the real conclusion that's being drawn by all the thinkers that the things about this issue. No advancement or development is sustainable as long as it doesn't aim to serve value and have a purpose for mankind. And of course, we don't need, I think, to discuss the importance of this digitalization here. It goes without saying that it is truly vital. And so long as it's continued to be used for human benefit, of course. Similarly, in a world, where the cyber wars are increasing, it is also not difficult to predict the outcomes of these, the new developments, these new cyber wars, these new developments. And you can also see the speed of change. Actually, for you, maybe it will be much easier to understand, but for our generation, it is something interesting. As I said before, I left my family when I was 11, but before that, I remember these personal computers were started to, come into houses. And at my time, when I was in primary school at ages of 9, 10, I had also a brother, which is 3 years older than mine. We really, we really are dying for a computer, and we, did our best to, convince our father to buy one for us. But what we had at that time at the market was either this Amstrad CPC 464, which is, I think, something like a 128 megabyte computer at all. There were games, for example, there was a football game, but all the players are square, and the ball is square also, and the players can go either like this or that, like a chess, the board or something. So consider, such kind of an environment. There was that computer, and suddenly an important thing happened, and a computer called Amiga 500 was created. So it was revolutionary at that time. The graphics of the games were more looking like an animation or a cartoon. And my father was visionary to buy one for us, this Amiga 500. But I was not that visionary, unfortunately, because my friends who had Amiga 500 at that time most probably made their maybe third exit from a successful startup, while I'm still working for the semi-public authority as a civil servant. So I must consider myself not as visionary a person as my father was, I think. And he's also a visionary in a different way. All my family is farmers. The only exception was my father. He was a dentist in a city called Karaman, so it was not an easy decision. But all he can recommend to me about his career was saying not to be a dentist. The only recommendation he did for me: be everything, whatever university that you choose, you can choose, but please do not be a dentist. It's not worth doing. After all these years, the recommendation made for me by my father was that. And when you look at, I'm just explaining this to you to also explain the difference. I remember how I choose my preferences for university education in '99, because in Turkey, as I said before, university education, the examination for entrance to university was also still. I'm sure that it is very competitive, but the system changed several times over and over. So I'm not aware of the last updates. But at my time, there was a single examination that will define your destiny. Only 3 hours that will define everything for your life. So everybody is investing, the families, the students, investing for these 3 hours of their life. So you can imagine the amount of stress and everything. And I remember how I made my choices for the university education. I once visited the campus of the Boğaziçi University that I am graduated from when I was 15, I think. And I saw the campus and I said that, okay, guys, now this is the university I will come. Whatever the department is, and the campus I like, the Bosphorus view, and this must be the university I must come. And I remember my preferences. I started from the business management and the economy and the political science. And I went down to psychology, history, whatever the department that exists in Boğaziçi University, I wrote them. So at the end, thank God, I was qualified for one of the departments I really wanted. But rather than being an educated preference or a conscious preference, it was all about the location and the view. And this obsession of my about view of mine is the scene, the Bosphorus view, still haunts me, because the first job I had was working for Prime Ministry office in Dolmabahce. As you know, the location, it's a perfect location. But if you look at the salary, my salary was half of my colleagues, which opted for private sector. But at the end, there was view, there was the scene. So I always say that be careful about what you wish for. When you are praying to Allah, be careful about your prayers. So it has to be exact. So still my office is perfect. But with regard to view, it is one of the best locations in Istanbul. I hope I can host you one day. It is in Ortaköy. But if you ask me whether I have any time to sit in my office and have a tea when looking at the view, unfortunately not, as you can imagine. So as I said, it still haunts me, but Alhamdulillah, Allah gave me what I wanted, but I think that I did my prayers very carefully. So, and this was you can see that majority of the choices have been made at that time. Among all the options was like that actually. Not everybody was like me. Of course, there were far more visionary, far more intelligent friends of mine made their career plans in a more careful and educated way. Of course, there were people like that, but the options were limited. The things that we can look for was limited. We weren't aware of the real opportunities and the real problems and the real potentials at that time. It was not easy to reach, frankly speaking. I remember that the first time we can look for something in the telephones on the computers was maybe the last years of the university. So it was not something we can do at that time. Library was something an important institution at that time that you have to go and look for the information. I'm not sure what is the situation now, because you can Google everything and you can reach any information at the moment. But really now the reality changed. More human-oriented approach is needed. And the institutions which put the institution itself over everything started to be questions more and more. You remember I mentioned the word bureaucracy, and I said that we have to address this again and again, maybe in the lecture. You remember the establishment of the investment office, the Prime Ministry Investment Office. At that time, we were addressing the governors of cities for a presentation, trying to explain what is this new institution, what are the foreign direct investments, what is the importance of, please, thank you very much. We are farewelling our dear guests, thank you very much. What is the importance of foreign direct investments, what this new institution will be doing, how visionary it is. We are trying to explain to the very old bureaucrats, these governors from different cities. And I remember that of course, when compared to other bureaucratic institutions, ours was a very fancy one. All young people from good universities and speaking in totally 11 languages in the institutions, institution starting from Arabic, English to Korean, Japan, the Spanish. So we are trying to explain how this institution is capable of addressing the needs of investments and this and that. And suddenly one of the governors, who is a very, the tough man, the real, the representation of what state and bureaucracy is with his mustache and everything. And he asked, okay, guys, you speak 11 languages, but there's an important question. Can you speak the language of bureaucracy? He said. If you don't, it is meaningless you speak 11 languages or 100 languages, it doesn't matter. If you don't speak the language of bureaucracy, you cannot create solutions in Turkey for the investors or any government, actually, what he means. And then we understood the importance of and the real meaning of this question again and again when we are trying to solve the problems of the investors, when we are trying to create solutions for the sake of investors in Turkey. You know, really bureaucracy is something, it's a real, you know, the living organism, you know, renewing and refreshing itself again and again. And I sometimes think that it's like a German, perfectly engineered German machine with Chinese spare parts, something like that. I hope there is no Chinese gentleman or lady in the salon. I mean, as a, you know, not, I mean, now the Chinese engineering may be even better than German, but just to, with regard to, you know, the popular perception, think of the people per se is nothing, you know, their level of quality, their level of education, their level of intelligence can be very limited. But in the machine they work for, they are serving, they are making their service in a perfect way. The machine works perfectly, like a perfectly engineered machine. So in a way that it refreshes everything every time itself. You know, even there is a huge and a very successful, maybe perfectly supported popular leader came, or a visionary minister sits at the top of the organization, whatever it is, the bureaucracy renews itself, trying to reach its own goals. It becomes an organism living for its own, actually, survival. So you have to create solution with this reality. You cannot cope with that. You cannot fight against that. Of course you can fight, but you just, you know, spend most of your time fighting this bureaucracy, while at the same time, the real services needed from your institution is just waits at one side. So you have to deal with that. Consider, for example, maybe a crazy horse or something. If you cannot find a way to tame it and to ride it, then at the end you cannot go to the place that you have to go. So you have to find a way to go along with that. So in our generation, in our type of, you know, in our time of public service, or in our type, you know, in our time of actually the positions that we occupy, it was all about try to address that kind of given reality, try to create solution within the boundaries that you have. I'm sure for your generation, most probably this will be the case to an extent, but as you see now, all these very ancient and very solid, you know, the structures and institutions are being more and more questioned, and for the new generations, they are becoming more and more meaningless. Everybody is now asking, okay, guys, okay, what this is bureaucracy, and what is it in it for me? What is the good of that? And why we have to obey all these rules? Why we have to go along with that? Why we cannot change this? The people, the new people, most probably the youngsters, the new fresh graduates, they just don't understand. And actually they are right. They don't have to understand. They can change it. And now they are more confident because they saw it with some real examples. For our time, creating a company in your, you know, the home, in your room, with your roommates, and turn this into $1 billion company in a couple of years, in a decade, was not an impossibility. We cannot even dream of that. But now you can suddenly, the whole big guys on all these ties and suits sitting on the other you know, the side of the table, lecturing you, or saying something important to you, at least saying something that they think very important to you, ordering you, giving orders to you. And this was, you know, the no more, you know, the acceptable for the new people, no more acceptable for you, because suddenly you can do something in a very limited time and can be much more successful, much more important, much wealthy, more wealthy, whatever it is that your aim is. You can be more of these things when compared to him in a very limited time. All these years of public service, he spent 30 years, you know, the 25 years, all the effort he made, And suddenly a youngster comes with his, the short pants and the t-shirt, suddenly comes into his position or meets him and telling that, okay, guys, I did nothing that you told me to do. I did nothing I cared nothing that you cared about before. And as you see now, I'm a person which is more successful than you, which is more esteemed than you, or which is more wealthier than you. So this is something the generation of 10 years ago, 20 years ago have a difficulty to understand. But I'm sure you will be in a position to understand these new trends much better. So this is an interesting change. And as I said, this is both, the innovative, of course, but it's also very disruptive. So as I said, in the example of bureaucracy, it disrupts the status quo that we used to, we are used to what we know for a faster developing and a changing environment. But with it, the digital age, brings new opportunities to create and innovate, to fill voids and the new needs. And it pushes us to be more creative, and also pushes us to be actually the real, the creators of these new trends. And when you look at the difference of the leadership of or also when I mean leadership, I'm talking about every position you will be filling maybe per se. It's no more hierarchical. The leadership, as you see, is not hierarchical. It is in the new digital age. The leaders must have power to inspire, to engage and to lead others with clarity and optimism. This is I think the main difference when you compare the leadership of this time with the leadership of maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I think they need to focus on, the new leaders have to focus on building their communication skills. I think this is the critical thing. Encouraging autonomy among the team members and clearly identifying their goals. I can say that for the first two, I can do something good, but for the third thing, this is really something about leadership skills, I think. But this was the same maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the clarifying the goals has always been important. But communication skills and encouraging autonomy among your team members became more important than ever. Actually, more important than it was before. It was all about hierarchy or order, the carrots and sticks and before. But now you have to convince them. You have to be good in communication. You have to make them believe for the cause. And this is why, it's becoming more and more about having a better communication with your team members and with your peer colleagues. And when we delve into it, we can see that, first of all, being a communicator and nurturing others, and communication enables leaders to gain insights of how others feel. The classical word of empathy. But as you can imagine, it's becoming more and more important. And building employee participation at all levels is becoming a more critical thing. Making them a part of the success is very critical. We even understand this when we are working for investments in Turkey. When we look at our workflow, you can consider, for example, a Japanese investor coming to Turkey for example, suppose that is then production in an automotive sub-unit of automotive sector, is a supplier in an automotive sector. First, you have to convince them when they are coming to Turkey through your marketing, the strategies, during the investment conferences, during the one-to-one contacts with the companies. First of all, you are creating this, the lead. You are first of all, convincing the company that Turkey is a country which they can invest, which they can find opportunities for their sector. This is the first phase. Then you convince them to come to Turkey first. This is a very critical turning point, actually. This is also, I think, the curse of Turkey. This is my humble also experience. 100% of all the people I know, I mean foreigners, when they come to Turkey, they always went back with a better perception. This can be a good thing. Okay, Turkey is a nice country. They went back with a good perception. But actually, this underlines a more unfortunate, the reality, the perception of Turkey is not good. What they know about Turkey is not the reality. Thanks to that, this was our advantage as somebody who's trying to make marketing for Turkish investment opportunities. When they come to Turkey, they always surprised in a positive way. So the first important point, aim for us in our business flow was to convince them to come to Turkey at least once, especially their business team or their technical team. Then when they come, you make a simulation for them about all the, the different alternatives. If we invest in this city with this amount of labor, these are the incentives you benefit from. These are the HR costs, these are the land costs, these are the other issues. So we are providing simulations and alternatives for them. And when they, are positive and opt for one of these alternatives, then you have to deal with bureaucracy to complete all of these issues. The working permits for the employees, the zoning plan for the land, finding the appropriate land for in an appropriate city. All of these becomes your, the work. And meanwhile, majority of your works turns into the issues that you have to deal with bureaucracy. And what we realized was, if you don't make the related bureaucrats, a part of the team, if you don't make them feel the success, if you don't make them understand the importance of this investment, and when this investment will be realized, if they don't feel also the happiness out of that, then it is impossible to convince them for something. Bureaucracy is something, as I said before, it is maybe a perfect machine with maybe more limited capacity of, the subunits. But these guys, these bureaucrats, all of them are huge experience, heavy in their area. It's like a very simple website. There are maybe only some simple words, but when you click on them, there are thousands of pages under that. But they don't have the right, the opportunity to address these experience. The value of the experience, this experience on the private sector is maybe millions or something. But in the state structure that they have to work for, it is a limited area, and their vision also stays limited, unfortunately. But if you don't make them a part of your success and the study, they can create maybe 1 million ways to do something. But if they are negative, they can create 10 million ways not to do something. In a negative way, they can be much more creative. So this is why I think making them a part of the, the whole process was very important. And when I look at the notes and the readings about the digitalization age and the digital leadership in this age, I see that this became more and more important. Making them a part of everything in all levels is becoming the most important core of your leadership type at the moment. And of course, at the end, which was also important in the previous leadership model and still very important, is to provide visionary direction and clear purpose. Leaders need to show their teams the goals that they are trying to achieve in a very transparent way. And a characteristic of a leader is having the skill to break down seemingly possible complex tasks into very simple, workable steps that towards achieving the task. Maybe the task can be very complex, but if a leader wants to be successful, they have to make it very simple, in a simple way, to make them understand actually the real vision. So when you look at the main differences in 4 main areas, we can see that in organization, it is less hierarchical. In mindset, it is more external rather than being internal. In attention type, it is more about feeling creativity rather than providing or showing carrots and sticks. It's not about promotion or, or de-promotion, or but it's more about making them feel the environment of creativity. And when you look at the tactics, the 4th area, it is more inspiring and collaborating rather than being telling and coercing on ordering something. So when you look at the main components of the leadership in that age, we can say that the top-down approach is no longer possible. Actually, when you look at the modernization processes of different, the nation states, even not only the companies itself, but even go to more political, more global level, you can see that the top-down model is actually never has been successful. And in this new digital age, it is understood in a better level for the companies too. And the leaders need to empower their teams to work their autonomy and freedom and to take their decisions. This was my actually main advantage for all my career. I started working for the Prime Ministry office at a very young age. But then this new institution, Prime Ministry Investment Authority, was being established. And at that time, they ordered us to help this new institution. And the president at that time of the institution was coming from another country, from Switzerland, and he has no idea about the Turkish bureaucracy and the state structure. So what is expected from us to help him, especially filling this gap in the team. But thanks to the limited number of the team, it was a very small institution at that time. When you look at the project directors, it was all around 30 people at that time, the white collar people. So we had our opportunity to make our own decisions for each investment processes. We were like account managers in the institution for investors, and every investment project was like a different project assigned to a project director. And at a very young age, in a very early age stage of our career, we were able to decide for important steps in these investment processes of multi-billion dollars of investment. So it was the huge advantage that helped us, people like me, to take decisions. And thanks to that, I was able to serve in every single, the step of the, the hierarchy of the institution. And when I was the left institution, I was the president of the institution in a years of 13 years, so period. So I think for a private company with lots of thousands of people, it's not an easy, the task to achieve. But for limited small organizations, actually, it's the main advantage of that kind of a new model of companies also maybe. Not very big, not very, the hierarchical, but it gives you the autonomy to make your own decisions and to feel, to prove that you are worthy of promoting to some different and more important decision-making mechanisms. So organizations need to create leaders at all levels by participation and accountability, of course. This is also an important dimension. And every member of the team should be encouraged to contribute ideas, insights, and knowledge for achieving shared goals. And collaboration is the key word, actually, in the new leadership. It's obvious. And when people care about the tasks they are performing and work with their heart and soul, then great things are possible to achieve. So I think in the the positions that you will be occupying and in the career paths that you choose, you will be seeing that communicating with people, integrating them into decision-making mechanisms, and make them feel the valuable will be the most critical thing. Actually, it's the essence of being a Muslim also. If you look at the very basics, you can see that actually it's in our DNA. What we have to do is actually put the essential things ahead of the worldly things in a nutshell. But you see that in a good way, it's also helping you to be successful in the new era of leadership too. This is why I think the developing countries like us, the Muslim countries that gathered for a cause today here in Turkey, in Istanbul, I think we have this advantage now. The level of achievement, which was not possible that we can achieve in a very short time, is now possible for the new generation, for these new developing countries. If we look through the perspective of Turkey, I can say that you see that this new young population, it was always a challenge for us, because if you don't provide the right means of education, as I said before, it is a challenge. If you cannot educate this huge population, it's a challenge for you. You cannot manage this situation. But now it suddenly turned into a huge advantage for this new line of economy, for e-commerce, for new unicorns. You see that suddenly this integration to the new trends, this being youngness, these new fresh ideas, suddenly puts you in a different, the position in the global economy, And you see that all the global giants are trying to invest in this new line of economy, actually. And suddenly, these developing economies, which were only a cheap, the source of labor before, turn into the most important markets of the global giants. So now you are much more valuable than ever. Your choices, your expectations are much more valuable than ever. Everybody's trying to diagnose them. Everybody's trying to identify them to address you in the best way. So you can turn this into a real advantage. It's all about communication. It's all about putting the values, the most important values ahead of everything. Be very clear in your mind. And then you will see that, inshallah, now the opportunities are much more than ever. And you will have the opportunity to achieve many things that were not possible 10 years ago, 20 years ago, in a very limited time period. Of course, identifying success or with some earthly, the results is not, of course, the true path for us. We know that, but what we can say that even in their way of evaluation, now we are in an advantageous position. If you look at the number of unicorns that made exit from Turkey in the last year, it's impossible. Maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was impossible for us to imagine. I remember that for investments that worth $100 million, we, spent all our nights and days. We, visit all the cities on Turkey with the technical team of the investments, and suddenly a guy just put yellow jackets on the youngsters, which are driving scooters, and turned this into an application called Getir, and suddenly became a multi-billion company in a year. This was unbelievable. But when you look at these guys' contribution to Turkish economy, is worth of the 10 times of what I did all these 20 years, 13 years. So it is a new reality, hard to expect, understand. But, you see, it is possible. And the same thing happened with a company called Trendyol. It's an e-commerce company. Again, $1 billion of evaluation. And it drove investments from all the sovereign wealth funds, my counterparts, I mean, with Qatar Investment Authority, Abu Dhabi Development Company. And all these efforts I have made for 13 years of career to convince this guy to invest even another $1 million to my economy. And this guy just came and made this, the interesting idea, and suddenly drove billions of investments to Turkey in a couple of months. So this is, I think, something you can do. Actually, an example. I don't want to make one of these guys making, the lecturing every day. This is success, how you can be rich. You have to do this, you can be rich at any time or something. But I think it's an example to show how things changed and how things are possible more than ever. I think this is a Muslim, a young Muslim in this new age, must consider these things to also as an opportunity to put his values over everything, because it is possible. Now you can do that, but by keeping your values at best at the head of everything, then following the path of success in different areas are more than possible than everything. Of course, the challenges are also more severe and more, maybe threatening. But at the same time, the paths that you can choose and the options you have are much more, much more wider change. And inshallah, you will be in a position to achieve them in a better way than we are. Of course, they just reminded me in 5 minutes there will be another lecture. So I hope I didn't waste your time by talking about too much of details. But in a nutshell, what I must say that, maybe we can touch also, the challenges in this new age, especially when we understood in the pandemic time, suddenly working with remote teams became very important. Normally, if you are strong in communication, face-to-face impressions, everything, communicating with your fellow, the people in your either workplace or an organization, was an easy thing, but suddenly a reality, disruptive reality like pandemic change everything, and you are in a position to remote, manage many teams and many people, contract with many people that are remote and different places. And when they are remote, the leaders need to put some extra effort to ensure cohesion and effective communication and maintain the level of synergy needed to ensure a healthy working environment. I think this will be the main challenge, but also the opportunity, as you know. For example, for my case, the pandemic really hit, for example, airline companies, and I was a board member in Turkish Airlines. You must see that it's like a apocalypse scenario, no flies at all. You have 45,000 people working for you, and you don't want to fire any of them, but there is no income at all for the company. And if you know the sector a little bit, you know that a grounded airplane is the most expensive thing for an airline company more than ever. Just burn it, it's even much better. But you know that it is a limited time, it will come back, so you have to also make the maintenance for everything. So you are just burning cash. It is like a hell scenario. But meanwhile also, we saw that suddenly IT sector became exploding because remote business became the opportunity. And the people, for example, the young graduates from Turkish universities, which maybe can find work in Turkey in a limited capacity, only the IT sectors on company, suddenly became valuable for the companies in London, companies in Silicon Valley. Because since you are working from home, it doesn't matter whether you really are Istanbul, in London, or Beijing, or the Lahore. So suddenly these guys have a new venue, and this caused the salaries and the IT sector going like that, while we are trying to convince our employees in Turkish Airlines to decrease their salaries. So you can imagine suddenly the IT people in the company started to quit their job. And we had to carve out the IT sector, the department of the company as a different IT company, just to provide the minimum package that they need for the company. So now this new reality, as you see, created a totally different opportunity for one sector while killing the other. And now in this new reality of working, suddenly remote work became the new reality, and leadership in this new reality became a different path of the skills. And it really maybe will push you to have some different skills in different areas, but also it is obvious that it will be creating some opportunities for you. This is why efficient digital communication will be the most critical thing, maybe more than the facial skills that you have. And also a second challenging point is that you have to engage your customer or your recipient in an organization of your product through a disruptive innovation. Everybody is doing something very innovative. You have to be disruptive in a way. You have to be different. And regardless of whether you are a leader in a B2B or B2C company or a customer-consumer engagement, now takes on a much more important role than before. Customer engagement boosts revenue through advocacy programs, can also drive innovation. And also there is a positive correlation between product quality and social media engagement. So it's not only about the product anymore, you see. It's all about becoming, how you market it in the social media. Even the conventional ways of marketing is no more meaningless. These creative guys on the marketing sector, which made all these years of fortune out of their creative ideas, now they are speechless. Some of them integrated to the new lines in a better way, but now it turns into something, a new line, a totally new area of economy, all about social media engagement. I know a businessman who have made his fortune out of real estate. He was a very conventional guy. And he said that his daughter, only 15 years old, has more than 400,000 subscribers now in her account in either TikTok or YouTube. And he says that now I have a difficulty to explain her how difficult actually earning money is, because at his age of 15, Now she is getting income from, for example, shampoo, the brands, or personal, the personal use of cosmetics and something. And he says that now it is very difficult for me to convince her to, study for university examination, because she thinks that it's a loss of time. Rather than working another 1 hour, she can make another video and he can make some thousands of money, the liras or dollars even. And he says that just in order to speak the same language with her, now I establish a social media company to invest in this sector. First, to provide security of my daughter, but I don't know what she does, so I have to control. And also to understand what they speak. And he says that, for example, I bought a company. The manager is only 30 years old, and the guy in total have more than 15 million subscribers through his influencers. So this guy is more powerful than an ordinary businessman or an ordinary politician. He can reach 15 million at once in a very strong way, but the guy has no idea about his power. The guy has no idea what business model, what the business opportunity he has. So you can see that the power is in the hands now, which do not know what to do with this power actually. And in this new age, I think the people with real values, with the integrity in their conscience, in their mind, will have the real advantage. I think this is why it's important, more important than ever, to be a real Muslim, to feel that in your, the head, to feel that when you make your decisions. I think it's not only an advantage for the other world, for Akhirat now, but it seems that it will be more and more an advantage in this changing trends of economy too. I want to cut this now. Sorry for the taking all your time by speaking in an issue that I am not also feel myself very the expert, but I just shared my ideas with you with this distinguished group of people. I want to take also actually questions, maybe if it is possible for 1 or 2, but I don't know. I want to ask the moderators here. How is the situation? Bir tane. Taha Bey, my dear friend, lets me to get one question at least, just for the sake of person. So, is anybody you want to ask a question? This gentleman is the forerunner of this. Please, I want to hear. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Hello. Tamam. Hello, Mr. Arda. Thank you for your speech. My name is Alp Çobanoğlu, and I'm a student in international relations too. And for that reason, I would like to ask you something about our major. What do you think about that? Why leadership and the digital age frequently are being used in one topic? What is the reason to use both of them in one topic?
Sorry, I couldn't. Maybe if you can take the mask, at least I can see your face also. Now we trying to get to the real reality. Sorry for that. Could you please repeat the question? Sorry,
why leadership and the digital age frequently are being used in the same topic?
In the same topic, yes.
Nowadays,
if I look through more complete theoretic the mentality, it's because it's all about dominance, I can say that, because now more and more the powers much more the diverted and more how can I say varied range of powers trying to create trying to set skills trying to set trends, trying to, as I said before, trying to diagnose the expectations in a real time, in a real way, trying to understand what these new expectations, what is really needed to reach the people, to make them think in a way, to make them choose in a way. It is maybe usually for the, the more capitalistic, the targets to marketing, the goals, or to make them buy a product, maybe more about that, but also in the political arena too. Now then the leaders, the power are trying to understand actually because the power structure is also changing. If you, I'm sure majority of you are having your MAs and PhDs also in different areas, and especially if you have your MA in political science also, because I had my MA actually, I didn't complete it because I had my, the lectures and completed my courses, but I was never able to deliver my thesis because of military service problem, as you can imagine. After all these years of dormitory school, my nightmare scenario was to sleep again with more than 10 guys in a room, or not having a private space or something. And you must see that when I had my opportunity to first rent my house with my little salary, it was a one-room house. It was like a palace for me, because I have I have my own toilet, I have my own, television. So these little luxuries were like the most important thing for me at that time. So because of that, unfortunately, I was never able to complete my master thesis. But in the readings you have in this master studies, especially in the political science, you can see the references to the postmodern era, how it will be disruptive. At that time, when I was having my MA courses, it was not all about digitalization or something. All the references were about the new normal, whether if there is a normal anymore. It's about postmodern era. It's about the change of concepts. It's about the change in the power structure, in the hierarchy, in the new leadership, in the new global order, whatever it is. And in that new order, everybody is trying to define the new reality. Because this is why I think maybe if it is the right answer, the digitalization, the control of choices, control of preferences, control over trends, comes together with always the leadership also. You have to be more and more, because the powers are being more and more varied. I remember one of the instructors, one of the professors in the university was saying that, guys, the complot theories, they are good for, the mental maybe training and examination, but they are getting less and less valid every day, because the number of powers to control that kind of a variables, that amount of different things at once is becoming less and less. It is no more possible for a mastermind to control everything, to calculate all the outcomes and to make very long-term plans for a big scale. So maybe they are good for mental exercise, but it's becoming more and more impossible. So this is actually the new reality. You cannot make your plans and calculate everything like a big mastermind, like the guy with the cat in the the James Bond movies or something. But the power, the leader, whatever you name it, which have the capacity to address more interests, address more people, to understand more, the different expectations and fulfill them, and at least make them feel that he is trying or she is trying to fulfill, he will be the one which will be the most actually the effective. This is why I think both leadership and digitalization come together more and more, because the only way you can do is to understand the digitalization and to use it in a better way. I think if it is the right answer, I did my best. Since I just like you, as I am a political science graduate, if you let me, I can talk until morning. So until you get bored of me. So I have to stop now. Also trying to leave the floor for the next, inshallah, lecture. I will be, you can take my contact details from the organizers, from Taha Bey, if you just, share my contact details with the participants, inshallah. My email, my phone. I would like to, whenever you have any question or anything to talk, inshallah, if we can find time together, I would like to host you in my perfect view office in the Bosphorus. Well, other than that, inshallah, whenever in the world we can come together, I will be very happy. Thanks very much for your patience and listening me. Inshallah, you will have the best times for these meetings in Istanbul. And I hope we can meet also again for some other also good and very nice organization like this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salim. And yes, of course, we're looking forward to visit your office, inshallah. Yes. Having come to the end of this lecture, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to say on the behalf of ICYF's president, we express our gratitude to our guest speaker and to you participants for your participation. We would like to also reiterate our deepest thanks to COMCEC and to the organizing committee for their personal involvement, which enabled this lecture to happen. We at ICYF have a tradition of giving a token of appreciation to our guest speaker. So I would like to kindly invite Mr. President Taha Ayhan to give the token of appreciation to Mr. Salim, please. Mr. Taha. Could we give them a round of applause, please? Thank you so much. Thank you very much, dear participants. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.